Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for episode 2 of Survivor 43. My name is Mike Bloom, here for a special 90-minute, perhaps, podcast and a 90-minute episode of Survivor, breaking down the second installment of Survivor 43. We are living and we are loving, Lovin, as we are breaking down all the messy vessy that happened over the course of this extended episode. Liana, Boraas, can you believe it?
Oh my gosh. Bees? Yes, I'm so excited. I just you know what? I should have worn my hat for this, my little like palm frond hat, but I left it at home, so we'll have to do it without that. But maybe, Mike, I could get those beads from you. I see in the background. They look very gorgeous. I could
I'll
decorate.
pull the bee from Full Bloom and give it
There we
to you.
go. Thank
But
you.
also, I'll call you on the fact that you are at home at the time you're recording this. So,
Wow. Way to call me out. Okay, I can't beweave it.
well, I cannot believe personally that we get to have this guy on. I'm so happy that he agreed to come join the malarkey. Look, this episode's called Lovable Curmudgeon, but in my opinion, drop the curmudgeon, keep the lovable. He is the winner of Big Brother Canada 10, the Winter Baby, talking about a show that very far takes place from the winter possible. Kevin Jacobs. Kevin, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Hi, Mike. Hi, Liana. Winter baby in the fall, checking in October. I'm excited. I've been really enjoying this. I'm ready to chat with you guys. I don't want my mom to come pick me up ever. I want to stay here forever, even if it is raining. I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, can't just turn your windshield wipers on or hide in that convenience store.
I love that because again, Sammy is 19, right? So like he still has those distinct memories. At first, I was gonna be like, "Oh, look at this doofy guy," but I'm like, I definitely recall doing this, especially in the age before you have like easy access to cars, right? Like you would run inside the local Cumberland Farms or the Canadian equivalent and be like, "Can you come pick me up? It's raining too hard. I don't want to walk home."
Yeah, and did you call on a payphone, Mike?
No, that back in those days, I had the Nokia chunky phone that I would
The
just play
brick.
Snake on, and that was about it. Yeah, so
Mm.
I made a local call on my brick to be able to have my mom pick
Nice.
me up. Well, Kevin, let's talk about your origin story with Survivor, because again,
Mm.
as someone who is very prominently affiliated with Big Brother, people might not know that you are a Survivor fan as well. How far back does your fandom go? Is it as far as the brick era? What phone was around when you started watching Survivor?
It was brick phones and car phones. It was I
Yes.
remember Borneo is one of the first television shows that I watched at all. I was 7. I remember sitting on the couch and watching Hatch win. I think it might be a formative memory for me. I think when I look back at my life, like that's one of the things that's one of my first memories. I don't have a ton before 7. I've got a little bit, but that's one of the first things I remember.
Yeah, it's interesting because look, again, and we're gonna get into, I think, maybe some random specifics. Again, a little bit apples and papayas when it comes to Survivor and Big Brother. But like, I know when you ended up winning earlier this year, there was a lot of comparisons like between you and Dr. Will, and Dr. Will is kind of considered right like the Richard Hatch of OG Big Brother. So it's interesting considering like your own reality TV show narrative proper that one of your first formative memories is of this sort of Machiavellian guy that appeared on the scene when you were 7 years old.
When you put it like that, it doesn't sound that healthy, Mike, but I'm okay with it.
I was gonna say, I don't know how good this sounds for Kevin. Like, just if we're talking about your core memories of your personality that may have shaped
Listen,
you. I don't know
as
if
long
that's
as
what we want to
Kevin's
go with.
paid taxes on his winnings from Big Brother Canada, like that puts you above the 7-year-old hero you saw.
Well, don't you not
Yeah.
have to in Canada, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
game show winnings and lottery winnings are untaxed here. So I
See?
have a lot in common with Hatch.
See?
Oh, see, that's interesting. I thought when Erica and Marianne won last year, I thought it was significantly fewer taxes. I didn't know it was none, though that might be different because it's like American
Hmm.
winnings
Yeah.
technically in Canada.
So my understanding, and I think no one actually knows what the real law is that if you win it as a Canadian on Survivor, you have to pay some sort of tax because it's a US game show. As
Mhm.
because Big Brother Canada is in Canada. And I'm gonna confirm all of these things so that I don't go to prison.
It sounds right. I'm sure
It
it's
sounds
fine.
right, right,
Yeah,
Liana?
Yeah, the IRS, they don't. It's fine. They're gonna be
Yeah.
like,
You
yeah,
have to,
that's what you
though,
thought, sure.
in a manner, and I'm not advocating for tax evasion, but I think there's a kid on his couch who was watching Big Brother Canada 10 at 7 years old who's like, that's gonna be my first formative memory is Kevin Jacobs winning. And so you have to kind of now
terrifying.
embody that role. The cycle starts anew.
I'm letting that kid down if I do pay taxes.
First of all, Mike, you can never start a sentence with, I'm not in favor of tax evasion, but just no, just cut it off there. You've already done something wrong.
Yeah, and maybe not the best start to a sentence. Well, let me start even a better sentence. So, Kevin, we are firmly in the new era, a very far call from you at 7 years old watching Borneo. What have been your thoughts about it? Again, Survivor is a show that you've been watching since the very beginning. Have you been liking the direction that they're taking it? Is it something that you wish they go back to some of those earlier days that you were speaking about?
I've really enjoyed the new era, and for a couple reasons. One is I think Jeff has this filter of is it fun? And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, but at least trying new things is great. Some of these twists drive me crazy. The hourglass, I hate. I couldn't hate more. But to just see them trying things and trying to keep it fresh while keeping it interesting, I'm in. That said, this season, give me 3.5 hours of content with only 2 boots. That I'm so interested in seeing these people and their character and who they are, because yeah, I love good strategy. I love it very much. But I want to see the human stories. I'm here for that. I'm here for the new people on the show. And so I've been really happy, especially with 43 so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Mike and I don't. Well, no, I'm gonna speak for Mike. I was gonna say I don't mean to, but I do. I'm gonna speak for Mike in that I think both of us do enjoy a lot of those character moments as well. Like that's really what drives us to the show. And I think for the strategy also to be intriguing to me, I need to know who the people are that are making those decisions because you can sort of better understand how they're approaching the game, why they're aligning with certain people, why they may be going against certain people. So I think that it's like inherently ingrained and even understanding the strategy. So like you said, to have all this extra time to be able to learn about people and then get a little dib dab of the strategy, I think it's also going to help later on when it might be more strategy heavy.
I mean, yeah, to even underline that point further, for me, like, I want to care about the people who are making the moves. And that's the thing where I can understand when people rank and rate seasons and they're like, oh, this season, the pre-merge wasn't great, but the post-merge is awesome. Like, that is a little bit of a big but for me, much like my tax evasion sentence. Because it's like, if it's Survivor Karamoan and I don't care about most of the cast by the time the post-merge hits, like, it could be off the wall bananas amazing. If I don't know or have any sort of feelings in general, good or bad, towards the people, then like I miss me with that. And so I'm personally really happy that, listen, we've had this extended amount of time. It is interesting that we've had 2 hours with one boot, an hour and a half with another boot. I offered this up on the Amazing Race podcast. I'd love to get both of your thoughts on this. My theory is that this past week, right, with the 90-minute Survivor episode, the 90-minute Amazing Race episode, this to me was a test balloon for CBS to figure out, okay, listen, we're all about stretching budgets, right? Like, can we make more for as much, if not fewer dollars? Do you think this was an attempt on the network to be like, let's try out 90-minute episodes of these shows to see if it works?
Maybe. I mean, then I guess would the question be, are they going to try it again during this season? Is this just sort of like a one-off that then maybe in future seasons they would plan for 90-minute episodes? I mean, as we saw from this episode, obviously they have the footage, right? So I don't think
3 days of footage, yeah.
problem, yeah, to have enough content.
The curmudgeon in me says no, and it's just a network thing trying to figure out how to make money off of their fall lineup. The optimist fan in me says they're looking at other Survivor franchises, looking at how these extended episodes tell great stories, and they're like, we should copy that. But I don't think that's true.
I mean, even looking outside other reality shows, though, like The Challenge a while back went from 60-minute episodes to 90-minute episodes. And, your mileage may vary as to whether the quality changed, but I'm hopeful because I really do think, and it's tough because, like, for me, in a perfect world, it would be the pre-merge would be 90-minute episodes, and then maybe you go back to 60 around the post-merge when there's less to show. But I think it's really necessary here. Now, I'm talking on one side of my mouth, and the other side, I'm like, what happened to Coco, the Blue Tribe, this week? Because we got like a scene about them. But listen, I'm just grateful for the additional real estate because there was so much great stuff here. I'll probably be a little frank here and say, like, I don't think we get that really fun Owen complaining about his tribe. I'm trying to not be a lovable curmudgeon scene in a 60-minute episode because, again, there's so much to get to. So, yeah, I'm just happy for the room to breathe. And then there's a little bit of mystery behind it as well, right? That, like, we got the challenge, I think, 30 minutes into the 90-minute episode, and we're like, what's going to happen? Then the votes pretty much decided at Vessi at, like, the 60-minute mark, and you're like, okay, was there going to be a medevac? Like, what's going on here? And then Cody's like, and then I start wandering around, and I find this thing that wasn't hidden, but was just sticking out on a log, and you're like, oh, okay, now I understand. And I think that's what it is for me, is like, if they are so insistent on throwing in all of these additional little baubles and trinkets and odds and ends in terms of twists, we need that plus the content to get to know the people. And I think 90 minutes is a good opportunity for them to do whatever malarkey they want to do, but then also have 2/3 of an episode that is strictly about simple Survivor done right.
So I was also thinking Drag Race does 90-minute episodes as well, but then they have 30-minute Untucked, so it is still a 2-hour block. Because, like, is Amazing Race really going to be an hour and a half if Survivor's an hour and a half? Or do you think it's just like a pilot for if something else goes there? I don't know.
Could be. I mean, they also have 30-minute comedies they could throw in there as well, right? Like,
oh my God, ghosts.
You got ghosts. You always got ghosts. And young Sheldon, when that boy rapidly aging ends up showing his bow tie face once again. So it could be a thing. I think I really enjoy 90-minute Amazing Race, but I would say on the whole, 90-minute Survivor probably has more content to it than 90-minute Amazing Race. I wasn't terribly mad. I don't know, Kevin, what did you think? I know you said you love the increased amount of time. What did you think about this interesting experiment of, like, the 90-minute episode with the one boot, especially with this sort of odd structure I was mentioning beforehand?
I'm for it. I really enjoyed the change. I mean, if I'm Coco, I'm jealous of that extra Baka scene because I think for a lot of people, including me, it was a little bit different. Why are we going to this tribe? They won. They're safe. But it was nice. We got like that. I can't go into Gabler right now because there's too much. But we got that, like, we got that Gabler scene. We got everything going on over there. Ellie talking about her children, right? So for me, the more we get of that, it's interesting. We often don't see the happy side post challenge. Maybe we'll get a little segment. We go straight to the sad people. It was cool. I'm for. I mean, give me 2 hours.
The 90-minute episodes also affords the ability to set up a lot of stuff. So, for example, the 2-hour episode that we got last week really set the stage for the salespeople war of 2022.
Yeah, Justine called it to me, sales on sales violence.
Yeah. I see Kevin has a reaction to this. Please explain.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw out some Latin. Do you know caveat emptor?
I know caveat.
Buyer beware is what that means.
Okay.
And that was when it was the 70s and you'd walk into a car dealership and they would have all of the information. And that's where this idea came of this sleazy salesman who might sell cars, who will do anything to get the deal done. But now if you walk into a car dealership, they have computers.
Yeah.
Because you've done the research in advance, because the buyer journey happens in advance. And so this idea of salespeople being sleazy or scummy, it's actually not why salespeople are a big threat. There are different reasons, but the idea that sales is a profession that is evil in some way, where you're just trying to make the quick buck. I mean, there are bad people in every job, but it's just wrong. It's wrong, and Cody's projected, and it's just wrong, and I feel for Justine.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you can speak about this first and foremost. I believe your occupation was sales engineer, right? When you played Big Brother. And you also have other experience in that. The guy you ended up going to the final 2 with is someone who lied about their job. So what were your thoughts about, both what Cody decided to do in obscuring his job and then also simultaneously using that as an exact reason to throw Justine under the bus?
You have to lie about being in sales. Even if that stereotype is not true, you have to say something else, because people make quick assumptions. first impressions are so important on the island, so you just have to lie because I believe sales is a noble profession. I believe that. However, most people don't, so you have to lie, and if you don't, it's a mistake. And I think that was a big error for Justine.
Well, I mean, she said she's a great liar, though. So, right?
Don't
Didn't
tell
she say
people that. Tell people how honest you are.
Oh my gosh, Justine's whole approach, even when she was interacting with Jesse, for example, when she was just like, "Are you really going to vote with us?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if this is the right approach."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it from what it's being personified to us, and I don't want to put the Bloomberg hat on too much, but this idea, right, of like, it seemed from across the 2 episodes, she was too open about everything, right? Whether it was her saying what her job was, whether it was this episode, her being like, well, you're the swing vote, so tell us how you're voting, or her telling Jesse beforehand. Now, look, again, there's 2 sides to every story. She did an interview with me where she explained how obviously that was a snatch of conversations, and it was just this idea of she really thought Jesse was with them. But yeah, at least the way the story was told to us, it seemed like where she ended up falling was she was even at tribal council, right? When she's just like, oh, it's me and Noel, and then it's Jesse and Dwight, and then it's Nneka and Cody. Like, she really was just, I mean, you talk about like professing yourself as being honest. She was, in that she was outlining everything that was happening at all times.
One of the things that salespeople, good salespeople, which she is, because I checked her LinkedIn and she hit 170% of quota last year.
Good for her.
100 is winning. 170, we're dancing. We're laughing. One of the things that good salespeople do is have tough conversations. And when they have like a hesitation or something, or they see a gap, they want to call that out. So to me, her saying to Jesse, hey, how do I know that you're not playing me? Is a very open, hey, how do I know that? It's not a yes or no question. It's an open-ended question. He can answer that. She can get the details, but he read that as her doubting him. And I think her honesty, like you said, came back to bite her when maybe Cody was representing her as the exact opposite.
I think it was probably the combination of the two, right? Because Cody can sort of put this idea out there, and then you have the confirmation bias of any time, Justine would do something, then you go, okay, yeah, this definitely fits with the way that Cody has painted her. And I think it was clear that just Jesse didn't really vibe with her anyway, and he really seemed to be the kingmaker here. So I think that was just an extra nail in the coffin, even if it was something, they just didn't vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I'm intrigued, again, going back to the lying of it all, because again, Kevin, something big that you did was this idea of lying that you were married. Now, of course, that has since changed since the actual time, the fiction has become a reality, and belated congratulations on air to you and Jillian. But are you surprised that more people don't make those lies about their own life status, right? You have, Harry, an Australian survivor, lie about their children. Perhaps that's a bit too far, but like, are you surprised people don't come with wedding rings onto the island of marriages that don't exist?
I'll say my motivation and then I'll answer. I had a few motivations. One is also it's just fun. The rules of real life don't apply. You can just go in with whatever story you want. And 2 is I think more people should. I am surprised they don't, because your backstory, your history is yours to make up. You're going in, most people, if they're trying to fake an identity, you know how hard it is to get a fake passport? I don't, because I'd never tried doing that. But to fake a full identity in Survivor is super easy. You just tell the story, you stick to it, you make it count, you do your research. For me, I took my sister's wedding itinerary and I memorized every single detail. You just have to go in with that backstory built out, and you have to think about what are the things about me that people are going to perceive a certain way. Sales profession, they're going to think something. It could be the way you look. For me, I went into a show with glasses. I know immediately nerd, villain, something like that is going to be the label. So how do you play that? So yeah, more people should be lying, and it's free. It's just fiction. You can just go in. It like George R.R. Martin is untying a Myronese knot for the last 5 years. If you just go, you don't have to do that. You can make anything up. People will just believe it.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm just imagining going in, creating my very own Game of Thrones character. My name is Liana, Mother of Dragons. Yes.
Yeah, or just like come up with your own narrative, right? Like, oh yes, my brother initially was trying to get with my now wife, but I murdered him, and now I am the one who married her off. But then more people got killed at the wedding. Like, the looser the story, the better. It'd be interesting though, considering how many of these personal stories that we get, and it's like, oh man, I'm really missing my wife out there. It's like, I don't have a wife. Like, it just cuts to, Polaroid photos of you with your arm around nobody.
I would love that. They don't all need to be heartbreakers. I want to get
Yeah.
some villainous stuff. I want to get some weird alternate histories and twists and turns there.
I'm happy that you brought that up, because that is one thing with the getting to know people. I want to get to know people, but I also want diversity in the types of stories that we're getting. Whereas I do feel like a lot of the people that they cast, and this is no shade to the people that they've cast at all, but there is sort of this feels a little bit repetitive in nature of, this is my own personal struggle, this is what I've been through, and this is how I'm applying it to Survivor. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think you need people that have gone through those struggles that are bringing that to the game. But it's just one type of approach to the game. It's one type of person who could be cast. And so it does get a little repetitive, at least in terms of the structure even of those packages, like the way that they do the personal packages.
I don't disagree, because I know that there has certainly been some discourse, right, of do we need the repetitive structure over and over again? The answer is no, right? Repetition when it comes to any form of storytelling is not good. I'm watching Survivor South Africa, for instance, where there was a lot of commentary about how it was too game body and not emotional enough. So moderation is key in basically everything in life. I'm of a couple minds about it, because I don't disagree, and I think Rob vocalized it well in the know-it-alls, right? That and you're saying it as well, Liana, that if it's all toned in one way, it can feel like a lot. It can feel like a fine line between this and an American Idol, right? Of only the people with the biggest sob stories are able to make it through. You can only be a good singer if something tragic happens to you. On the other hand, I wonder how many people that have been cast on Survivor before 41 have these types of stories. How much is the tail wagging the dog? How many people who have been on these types of shows before have had these stories and just haven't had the opportunity to tell them, versus how many people are getting cast for the show because these types of stories are happening?
I think you could frame, I think essentially everyone could frame their story that way, right? They're just going to be different struggles. And that's what we see here. Especially if you compare Ellie and Jesse, for example, two wildly different stories, but still framed, same music, same pacing, same, so I don't know. I don't think it's like people do or don't have these stories. It's just the way that they're being told on the show.
That's such a good point, Liana. If I say if I say
oh my god, thank you. Wow, you're such a good salesman. Oh my god, I feel so good. Thank you.
If I say, hey, today I went for a walk and today I went skydiving, exact same delivery, the way you tell a story matters. And if you're saying both of those things, which are complete opposite ends of the spectrum, the same way, it kind of ruins the way it lands.
Yeah, I think, and they hit this better in 42, I think, in general, was tying it into what was happening, right? Jackson, when he ends up having his short stint on Survivor, we don't get his story until he shares it to his tribe members. And I think that's what people are jonesing for, and I would certainly agree with them as well, that with some people it does feel a bit shoehorned in of my God, I found the almonds. This reminds me of when I was excommunicated from my household. And it's all right, we're a little A to C here. The Geo story is amazing. At the same time, it should relate to something that happens within the game, so that therefore you're killing kind of two birds with one stone, rather than we're taking time away from what you're doing on the island to showcase who you are off the island.
Well, I mean, Geo's story would have been perfect, to couple up with Carla's story, right? Because you're showing the parallels between them, what they've been through. So that maybe is a little bit easier of a transition. But yeah, I agree.
And I mean, I think that's the whole point we've been talking about.
Yeah.
The story is great, but if it doesn't match up with the game, it doesn't make sense. And that's the poetics of it. How do you make everything work together? A 3-2-1 vote gets me fired up. But if I don't care about who's executing that vote and who's getting voted out, it doesn't matter. And that's where it's tough to connect those different stories to what's happening in the game. Because ultimately the question is who's winning or who's losing.
Now, that being said, I feel like Baka is the tribe that is kind of threading that needle right now. That, you still have this stuff going on with Ellie, who actually now gets 2 packages in a row for 2 episodes. But I feel like we know so much about them, not only because they are just an absolute mess of a tribe, but also because a lot of who they are is parsed out through a lot of this great camp stuff that they're getting. And it sucks for Coco. Yeah, to a point you made, Kevin, that we're not seeing a lot of them. but it comes like at the cost of like seeing so much great Baka stuff where I tweeted this out, but like, man, Gabler really is new era Rupert. Is he not? Down to him insisting that he get the Hawaiian sling and that it only be his Hawaiian sling.
I thought he was gonna lose it for sure. When he was talking about not wanting to tie a rope around it, I was like, he's gonna come back from the ocean and there's gonna be no Hawaiian sling to speak of.
I was watching at a bar with like 30 people, and because it was a 90-minute episode, everyone's like, "Oh, he's getting medevaced in 2 minutes."
Yeah.
Well, like he'll shoot it through his leg or something?
Yeah. People were like covering their eyes. It was
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, I kind of was a bit with when he was practicing in the sand and he decides to, because the way a Hawaiian sling works, right, is like it's an elastic band. And what you're supposed to do, and I only learned this because admittedly I learned how to use a Hawaiian sling in Fiji, was you wrap it around the indentation between your thumb and forefinger, you pull it back, and then the motion, Liana can, attest to this probably from science, is able to extend it forward. Gabler is like cutting off circulation to his arm by wrapping it around like it's Boston Rob with a buff, circa 2001, and it looked frightening at the time.
When he wrapped it around his elbow, that was the moment I also thought he was going to stab himself, because that's not, it needs to leave your arm to hit the fish. Like, what? Oh my gosh.
Mike, did you just...
What?
Liana, you know your science, so like that was not surprising what you said. Mike, did you just break down the use of a Hawaiian sling in detail?
I mean, that again, I learned first and foremost. I was one of those people, right? That's the couch for 20 years. I was like, I don't know how it works, but it looks fun. And then when I actually got there and they're like, oh, this is how you use it, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now than I realized. Yeah, it's literally just all in, and some are like spring loaded, but it's all just elasticity and like, tension and force and all that. Where you just wrap it around your hand, you put your hand as far down as you want it to go as far as the tension allows, and then you let go and it springs forward from your hands to hopefully catch a nice fishy.
Okay, because I knew he was doing it wrong, but if you put me if you gave me a Hawaiian sling, I don't know that I'd be able to do it any better.
Mike's a regular island boy now.
Clearly.
Now, listen, I did not catch any fish. I got close a few times, but I did not. I will say, though, there is I think it's a scene up on EW.com where I don't believe Gabler brings anything in, but Owen is the one that brings in fish for Baka in a scene. He catches 3 fish, and there's actually a fun commentary about him being like, I guess it's the hair, but I suppose I have Aussie DNA inside of me, which is probably something only people on his OnlyFans would say. But I think that it's a fun moment for Owen. What are your thoughts about Owen in general, Kevin? Because I think, again, not a bit apples and papayas, but I feel like he very much embodies your spirit, right? Of like the super fan that, to the point you made about those false narratives, is just having a very fun time out there, much to his tri-mate's detriment.
I feel really good about Owen, despite the sort of bumbling edit he's gotten a little bit so far. And part of that is, I think it was something, I think it was one of your interviews with him before the game. He said, hey, I want to be underestimated. And for someone who's going on a competitive reality show to say that shows a deep understanding of the social dynamics, because every single person there is picturing Jeff reading out that final vote that you are right. I don't know. Anyway, congratulations, Owen. It's the fact that he can put himself in that position and is fine being seen like that in others' eyes is great. Ellie says, hey, Owen's older, but he's like my is it brother or brother?
My little son, the second child, the more high maintenance coddled one.
Yeah, that's great, because Owen knows the game, but if he can play this sort of, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm a little clumsy, lean into that, like I can see him making a run.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's also just so charismatic. So if you couple those two things together, that he's underestimated and likable, why would you ever get rid of that person, right? And you're going to want to bring them along. So plus he's willing to work around the tribe, we saw with the bouillon cube urine.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second? Again, Liana, I'll go to you for the scientific expertise here. Because, like, just what a visceral comparison, right? Like, Hemingway-esque. Your pee looks like bouillon cubes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he means the diluted, like once you have dissolved said cube into the liquid, or just like the solid cube, because that is quite yellow, and you
I
do
was
need to drink more
like,
water.
if it's the latter, then I'm concerned about kidney stones more than anything. Talking about possible medevacs.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. No, it was very funny. It was a very food heavy episode, I felt like. So for some reason, the bouillon cube comment just like fit right in because we had the pineapple zone, we had the almonds, we had the
Mm.
worms. Gabler described worms as survivor bacon, I think, or something like that. So
Yeah, which is interesting because I mean we have Survivor popcorn, right? In the form of if you fry up coconut, it tastes like that. I don't think especially in the 10 seasons we've spent in Fiji, I don't think anybody has ever described fried worms as Survivor bacon.
maybe they should.
I mean, bacon can go in a lot of different things. I just think worms are incredible, unless they're finding like giant ass night crawlers out there, like Cody searching back at home. I don't know if they can get something large enough to determine that it's bacon. Otherwise, it's just gonna become like really charred little worm bits.
It's like bacon bits, worm
I
bits.
Yeah, I guess.
It's also just like, I don't know, Gabler's just, some of them are just filtering Survivor through this like totally dreamlike lens. He's at tribal council in the first episode being like, we all won, right? Like, these worms are bacon.
Like, sure, yeah, good, great, good job.
Yeah, they're sort of a
Gabler.
Gabler form of reality, right? Like, I've never used this before, but I think it'll be fine. Rep. Oh, my arm's turning purple. That means it's working.
If you believe it, it's real.
He also has a lot of like the way that he words and phrases things is also very amusing to me. There was one quote that I wrote down when he was having his whole like I'm gonna get medevaced moment, not the spearfishing one, the like I hurt my feet and I'm tired. The
You're never
longer I
gonna-
have to loaf, if you will, the more of a liability I become. The longer you have to loaf? I don't know what that is, but I love it.
It's really he's breaking down the philosophy there because there's so much game going on that if he's lying down to repair his body, he's losing out on the mental game. He can't go out and strategize. It's kind of beautiful.
It's just loafing too much.
Yeah, again, I will say what we said last week of like him and Cody are by far the oddest wordsmiths that I've experienced on Survivor in a little while. I mean, speaking of Cody, let's talk about everything going on with him because, like, God, this show sometimes can be so stupidly fun. And when this man, of all people, this man is given the task of go around and gather beads, like, I mean, Liana, you talk about things that were planted in the very first episode, where we're like, oh, Cody's making a stupid hat. Like, oh, that's funny. Maybe he'll wear it at tribal council like coach or something, but like nothing's going to come of that. But it's the thing to bail him out of this beware advantage. He would not have had a vote were it not for this hat.
I mean, props to Jesse for coming up with the idea, I believe. When Jesse's like, you have that hat, like pretend you're decorating the hat. Who would have thought that the palm leaf hat would have become, the center of this episode?
Cody had a quote in there in the episode where he's like, the odds of winning it all are against you. The odds of having a good time out here, that's in your own hands.
Yeah.
And but I it's funny, but I agree completely. You got a do or die advantage, and you make the right decision, and you switch and you lose. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Whereas he's doing this thing where he doesn't even hesitate. It's minutes before tribal council. He sees it, and good for him because he's decided, because he's a living tattoo on his ass, and he's decided that's how he's gonna approach the game. I love it, and it's a fun twist, right? It's and when I say fun, I mean it's fun for social dynamics.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool if he has to say that the computer landed on the field of water, but I don't know.
Cody would get away with that though. Like, I'm as shocked as a computer landed in a field of water.
Yeah, but like it's nice to see him with people and see Noelle's reaction and seeing how they communicate that way. Like, to me, that's a cool twist where it involves the social dynamics. Yes, it's also dangerous because he might be outed as an amazing liar or manipulator if he does it this way, but that's part of the fun.
Well, I think there was a lot of discussion about, okay, well, they can't do the phrases, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to know they've seen those seasons. So how are they going to try and replace it if they do? And I think that the taking the beads, the one specific bead from your tribe mates, I really like this idea. I think it's super interesting. And I think we saw a couple of different approaches, even within just Cody getting the beads. It was, okay, my closest allies, I'm going to tell. So then they will give me the beads. Then there's the other people that we have to coerce in some way. And you can sort of get the other people of the tribe who are aligned with you to help work on that. So if we see this on the other two tribes, I wanna see what approaches end up happening there. Because even within this one, like I said, we got, a couple different approaches.
That's what I like about these beware or beadware advantages, because it almost like inspires collusion, and that's really fun because the idea of a hidden immunity idol usually is that you want to keep that information to yourself, right? It's a fiercely independent maneuver that sometimes can be used from a group capacity. This has to require cooperation, right? We even saw this with the phrases of like, oh, I don't have my vote. Can you help me with this? I think specifically the idea of losing your vote makes you have to tell people, because in that moment people are relying on you, especially in a 6-person tribe, to help them, right, to lend your vote to them. If you don't have that, like, you have to offer something. And so I really love the fact that, yeah, he immediately tells Jesse comes up with this plan, he gets NECA on board, and they do like this sort of group lie happening, right, of like, come on, Dwight, don't be a stick in the mud, give us your beads. And it ends up happening. And then on top of that, you get the flashbacks happening where going in, we think, oh, Noelle is going to be the one, which was a delicious reversal in and of itself. And then when we hear Jeff say 5th vote, we're like, what? And then you take the flashback, and yeah, Noelle eventually was like, okay, fine. I'll give you a bead. I really enjoyed a lot. Not to mention, we have to talk about where we go next from here. Cody cannot take the beads off the hat because that gives away the ghost. Right? Like, that gives away the entire plan. Like, oh, I just needed it for this one time, and now I can make it into a bracelet. So he has to keep it around the hat. The hat is now the idol.
And he didn't take, like, specific beads, right? Because it was the idea was that he would go for specific beads, and he just full force took the entire thing and threw it on for all of them.
Yeah, because the plan is also like, we need every base because it needs to go all around the brim of the hat. So he's strung together everything. So he can't be like, oh, I'll take off specific beads, because again, that would be too conspicuous. We have an idol hat for the first time ever, 43 seasons in.
Oh, I love this. I can't wait till they do Ghost Island 2, where his hat goes to Ghost Island and matures, and then someone has to try to hide it, like Wendell did with the Eric's immunity necklace. Yeah, I love this. I mean, good thing Cody, of all people, he could wear it to every single tribal, and no one would bat an eye. But I really want to see him play it, like, so bad.
Yeah, he has a nice relationship with Noelle, which was, there was an early scene in the episode. If she didn't give her beads, like, and you're allowed to, maybe just vote her out. If you have everyone else's and that gives you an idol.
Yeah. I was thinking about that as well, of like, okay, if you need a reason in your first vote, so if it's like, oh, Noelle's being difficult, she's not even going to give me her beads, maybe we should vote her out instead of Justine. That could have been really interesting, because, yeah, if you can't get the beads, then you eliminate them from the picture. Theoretically, then you have all remaining beads accessible.
Yeah.
It's not like Thanos, where you need all 6 Infinity Stones. 5 would be plenty.
Or maybe she could bequeath it like a fire token. When she's done, she can send it off, her beads. And then he has to get it from someone else. Like if she gives it to Justine or something, that would be wild.
Now, it'll be interesting, though, to your point, Liana, as to like, because I'm assuming this is how it's going to be handled on both other tribes, unless there's another totem that they have to get from everybody. Because, again, Cody really found the perfect out in the form of this hat. No clue. If Gabler finds it, what the hell is Gabler going to do about this?
He would just ask. He would just be like, I need the beads for an idol, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, right? Because he was so like, woo, I got the thing. I got an idol.
I got an idol. I can't. Yeah, exactly. He would just be so straight up about the whole thing.
Either that or it'd be like, I got to eat the beads. I'm so hungry. Please give me your beads. I need to eat beads. The beads are good sustenance.
Is it like, Leon, is it the right move to tell people? Because I get that you're using it to build trust, but Cody's charming enough. Couldn't he have just not?
Well, I think because it was so close to tribal council, I have to imagine that he gets it, kind of panics about the situation, and then at least tells Jesse from what we saw. He may have told NECA as well before the whole situation erupted. But I think if he had had a little bit more time, I think Cody absolutely could have done it by himself. Now, would he have come up with the idea for the hat without Jesse? I don't know. But maybe. I think it's a definite possibility. But with that time crunch and knowing that you would go to a 2-2 tie, I think you have to be a little bit more aggressive than you would under normal circumstances.
Well, that's the other thing too that sort of again makes it a little bit wonky at the end of the day. It's like, oh, it's fun. Cody makes this big risky maneuver to get his vote back. Didn't necessarily matter. I know they were fearing the 2-2 tie, but I'm a little surprised that Jesse did not just say like, okay, no, the plan was that they were going to split votes. Maybe he had wondered if Noelle and Justine would have voted together. But again, their plan was to split votes between Cody and NECA in case NECA played her shot in the dark. Then it would be a 2-1-1 tie, and then they'd just be able to vote out Cody on the revote. So it was already happening. They were able to take advantage of that plurality. But again, it made good TV, so I can't be terribly mad at the outcome, no matter how unnecessary it was.
I don't know if I agree with splitting votes for a shot in the dark. For an idol, yeah, there's a 100% chance of safety if they play it. But if you're 17% or whatever, I'll take that risk every tribal.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how much faith you have, in the people that you're splitting votes with, right? If you feel like that's something that could come crumbling down, because I don't think if you have 4 people absolutely solid, yeah, sure, I don't see a problem with splitting the votes just as a backup necessity, but it's predicated on the fact that you do trust everybody that you're voting with, and there's not going to be any type of shenanigans, which. We obviously, Mike, as you mentioned, we didn't see the whole thing with Jesse and Justine, but if there's any type of question there at all, I mean, there's no way, I would feel comfortable splitting the votes there, or I would make sure that I'm not splitting with my closest ally.
Well, the tough thing as well is that they didn't have 4 votes. Remember, Dwight couldn't vote. So that was the other thing as well. And that was a really fun thing is this was a 6-person tribe where half the tribe was blindsided in the first vote, which I feel like is very rare. With so few people tend to get on the same page, especially in those first votes, right? I feel like we've gotten a lot of like unanimous votes at these first tribal councils. Here, essentially, it was going to be like, 2-2-1 or 3-2-1 at the end of the day. It just so happens that one person didn't have a vote, so it became 3-1-1.
Yeah. And there are 2 things about this that I think the Dwight side of it, I don't think it's that weak of a position if you play it right early on in the game. You don't have to show your cards. People know he's already said, which I don't mind, that he doesn't have a vote. Like play nice, go with whatever. Stop pushing Jesse. Who cares? It's the first vote. Like take it easy. You whatever happens, smile and go back to camp because you don't have a vote. You don't have the only time people really show their cards is when they write down a name. So sure, just smile and go with it. And then on that side, going into the tribal, I don't think it's great for Jesse that he blindsided Dwight like this. Like, why doesn't he just tell him beforehand? It's going this way. You're, at least according to that, my closest ally. I get he might be close with Justine and Noelle, but for both of them, this is an opportunity. Take it easy. It's the first vote.
Well, plus, I mean, I don't know if Dwight explicitly mentioned this, but Dwight gets his vote back. So, he it's not like he doesn't have a vote for the whole pre-merge. So if you know that then he is going to have power, I mean, again, if Dwight wants to side with Noelle, it's still 2-3. And the way that Jesse described it was that it was him, Cody, and NECA, and then Dwight kind of on the out. So it wasn't really a 2-2-2. It was more like a 3-2-1, I guess, situation.
Yeah, because I think because basically what he said right at the beginning of the episode was like he's close with Dwight, he's close with Cody. Dwight is not close with Cody, and so maybe he'll be able to bring him on board now, right? Essentially, like eat or be eaten. If you're not with us, you're against us. Like, do you want to be next voted out? But I think the one of the reasons why I think Jesse ends up wanting to vote out Justine is because he feels like, okay, I can't bring Dwight into this alliance. Let me eliminate options then, but. Yeah, it's a very fun, awkward turn when Jesse fake proposes to Dwight at Tribal Council, and then like 5 minutes later ends up blindsiding him. It was a very fun turn of a relationship.
Yeah, from island partner to betrayed and backstab. No, I think the not having a vote thing is really interesting because I think this was discussed last week on the know-it-alls, but there you can either approach it in two ways. Either that person that doesn't have a vote is not a threat because they have no power, they can't vote, who cares? Or they're not useful to you because they can't vote and they don't have any power, which means you can't use them as an ally because they can't vote. But I think ultimately where I land on this is sort of where where Jesse lands, which is they're useless, so I'm going to keep them around because they can't vote. So not that they're a threat because they're they can't vote.
To your point, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, people. I'm pretty sure in the quote unquote new era where this is a thing, I think Brad is the only person that has been like voted out in that pre-merge structure of I have an idol, I don't have a vote.
Mhm.
Every other time that person's been kept around because I think that's the prevailing strategy is like, listen, if they can't vote, they're no threat to me at this moment. So unless there's like other reasons, like again, in Brad's case, he had all these umpteenth other advantages that he could use. That's a reason to get rid of somebody. But otherwise, especially with Dwight, like he had nothing to show for it. He doesn't even have an idol. He's got absolutely nothing. Why not keep him around?
Exactly. There's also I mean, we're as humans, we have this sort of reciprocity instinct where somebody does something nice for us, we want to do it for them. And a lot of people can't suppress this when they're playing Survivor. So if I'm Jesse, I'm taking care of Dwight. It's okay. I got you. You don't have a vote. Knowing that in the future, hopefully that comes back to help me because I've earned his loyalty and I've earned that sort of reciprocal nice act.
Yeah, Jesse outright said, like, oh, what's mine is ours. And
Yeah.
Dwight's like, no, that's not mine. I did not write down Justine, okay? That's not ours.
That's not the pineapple zone.
Not the pineapple zone. Yeah. So what is the pineapple zone? So it's where they can just talk freely? What I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's this idea, right, of like, listen, okay, but there was a lot of kinky shit that happened in this episode, so I'll go there. I think it's a safe word. I think it's this idea of like, okay, when we say this word, it means that we can be truthful with one another.
Ah, not that kind of safe word. Got it. Okay.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. They talk about brutal honesty. That could carry over in many ways.
Ooh, pineapple zone. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little naughty considering what pineapple can be known for in terms of its intrinsic values.
It's a beautiful area near the equator where it's the perfect blend of
To
heat,
grow pineapples.
sun,
Yes.
moisture. Yeah, that's how pineapples work.
Jesse's
Okay,
incredibly
good.
worldly. He learned
Yes.
about that in his gang life. They were talking all about like where the pineapples grow most frequently.
Oh my God. Bro, agriculture. I'm so down. Let's talk about it.
Listen, if they're growing drugs, maybe they know produce. Is that a bad leap in logic?
Well, I mean, I think it's the gig economy, right? So you're in the drug trade these days. You want to have a side hustle, and produce is a big one.
Sure. Yeah. It's common actually. Surprising.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you have a green thumb, like, might as well use it for many different ways. Use your talents there. Well, let's talk about how talented Liana and I are when it comes to the realm of predictions here, as we talk about what befell poor Justine Brennan, the sales on sales violence. Listen, I'm going to go first here because I have a feeling it's going to be another week of Liana points because my like
You see Liana just hide?
Mine's so bad.
But mine's bad too. I had her making the finale.
Damn! Oh my God! Oh no!
Well, listen, yeah, I think people who listen to the interviews that Kevin mentioned knew that I was fairly high on Justine. I did not necessarily count on her. I counted on her getting in with someone like Noelle early. I did not necessarily count on that being the reason why she got so targeted. But here is what I had to say. I said that she would immediately ingratiate herself to the men of Vessi by talking about being a guy's girl and showing her strength around camp and in the challenges. She would have some of the most generic confessionals, but the number of them would convince the fandom that she's winning. I said that she would lose her vote and try to lie about it. But unlike the time she got an entire car door replaced without her parents knowing, everyone immediately finds out about that. I forgot about already the lie from her bio that she talked about. And this may spoil a bit as to other prospects I had for the endgame, but after getting into the Jesse's Angels endgame alliance, she ends up just falling short when he ends up beating her in the fire making challenge. I said her closest ally was Noelle. Her enemy was NECA. She had 31 confessionals, and the randomly drawn phrase for Justine was, "The toddler's endless tantrum caused the entire plane anxiety."
Well, that's a true statement. I don't know what it has to do with Justine, but yes.
She's flying to those sales meetings.
Yeah. Okay, so this is very weird. So I also had Justine making the finale. Oh, by the way, Mike, she's a girl's girl, okay, not a guy's girl. So she could be in Pose
God.
Pack. All right. So here's what I had Justine making the finale. I said that she forms an early bond with Jesse and they create the Jalliance.
Because they're both begin with J.
Yep. And the two run Vessi in the pre-merge. Jesse and Justine are pitted against each other in the final four fire making, where she loses by only a few seconds.
Ah!
I don't know how you got it. I can't. We need to
When
stop
Kevin came
podcasting
on
together.
here, Liana and I said hello in unison, and I think that
Yeah.
carried over to the way we wrote these things.
It started, yeah. We also got several sarcastic faces / eye rolls from her, a la her hero, Mike White. I said that her ally was Jesse, her enemy was Cody, and she would have 37 confessionals.
Wow. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
maybe we're on the same page in a very incorrect book.
Yep. Both very strongly incorrect.
Kevin, between us, it's a game of inches, I know. Anything tipping the needle for you one way or the other, and who was more accurate on Justine at the end of the day?
I think it's gonna be Liana with the Cody enemy. I feel like that was really, really her downfall. I don't know that Mike, you said it was NECA, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that NECA played a huge role in doing this. Cody at Tribal was like, I don't have the power to make sure she stays, but I think Cody did, and I think ultimately he's the reason why she went home.
That's so smart. Wow. I love that. Yeah. Definitely correct. Good.
I mean,
Yay!
it's valid. Well, yeah, when I asked Justine what her response was to finding out that Cody himself was a salesperson, she basically said, like, well, I guess some men are just intimidated by strong women. Again, to your point, basically implying that, like, she puts it entirely at the feet of Cody and Jesse rather than NECA. For NECA, it's understandable, right? It was like, again, eat or be eaten.
Yeah.
If it wasn't her, it was going to be NECA.
Right. Yeah. So
Also,
of course.
the Cody NECA duo is really fun.
Totally unexpected for me. I'm very happy with it. I want to see more from NECA because I feel like we've just gotten a little bit from her and we've had a lot of Cody. But once we flesh out her, that duo, they're so cute.
How about Tribal NECA?
Yeah.
She was involved.
So that's the thing, is like, she's talking to Jeff, right, about like, have you met any Nigerians? We're standing on the coffee tables. Like, I haven't really seen that effort, and maybe it's her purposely trying to play it cool, but like, this could have been the most in trouble she's been the entire game, and I want to see a bit more of that come out, because again, that's a really fun, high-energy character.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so great. I have a point. Good job, me. Let's go to our activity for this episode. We are going to be talking about fashion. That's right. It's time for buff or snuff. Yes, Kevin, you get to talk about the sartorial choices of the season 43 contestants. So if you would like to follow along at home, we have the video. Mike's going to pull up the images, but also we have a bit.ly link, bit.ly/buff or snuff 43. That's all lowercase, bit.ly/buff or snuff 43. So of course, we have to kick things off with the hat that inspired buff or snuff this week. It is the palm frond woven bead adorned hat created by Cody. With two images here. One of, without, before he added the little accoutrements, and then with the beads. So Kevin, what do you think? Buff or snuff?
Is this worthy of the BB Can Awards?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, this is an absolute buff. This one, I think when you look at clothing and fashion, because I am an expert in both of those things.
Of course. That's why we had you on.
That's exactly. Yeah.
There's a story behind them. And not only is there the story of the beads, but my understanding is that the creation of this is really, really, really difficult. Like, just making the basic palm frond roof, I believe, is incredibly hard for most castaways on their first time. This hat is a 10 out of 10 difficulty. Like, every time you look at this, you're reminded of the story, of challenge, of difficulty, of how hard he worked to build this thing. And then you put the twist and the beads on top of it. Easy buff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I completely agree. I mean, just look at the pleating going on right here, right? It's like a nice challah.
Mhm.
Just the weaving is absolutely immaculate. Yeah, I've seen some alumni post, right? This idea of like, I can barely weave palm fronds together, and Cody was able to do it in such an intricate way to make
Mhm.
a hat, which I think is much harder, right? Because like, assuming he had to strip things out of the actual palm fronds itself. Now, granted, maybe he was spending more time on the hat than actually doing work, but it paid off in my opinion because now it's a freaking idol. And I've been asked a few times. Obviously, Rob and myself and Chantel Francis did like a tier list, right? An outwit out play out list for famous Survivor hats. And I was asked, where is this going? Again, we're only a couple of episodes in, so time will tell. But like, I'm inclined to already put this in top tier because of the fact that it is now an idol. And it probably
Mhm.
has to stay an idol because, again, those beads are not going to come off without anybody knowing. It's really well done, on top of it having comedy potential, on top of it having story potential, on top of it becoming a freaking idol. This
Mhm.
might be one of the biggest buffs I've ever given to something in the number of years that Liana and I have been doing this project.
The other thing I like about it is that it's practical, right? It's a hat, they don't get sunglasses anymore.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta keep the rays out somehow. And the fact that Cody made this in seemingly very quick time, I think, I don't know, maybe just based on the edit, but he's all over the island. He's jumping off of rocks and climbing up stuff. So it seems like he's got plenty of time, which to me indicates that this hat did not take that long to make. But he said he learned it from the Hawaiian natives,
Uncles.
right? Yeah, exactly. So I love this. Also, buff all around, just outstanding.
And I
Yeah,
think
that
the
it,
real story here is that uh, how this hat ends will tell its
Mm,
story. You know, you think of the great hat to Survivor,
yeah.
sit like burning Russell's hat. Like, what is like that's
oh,
that's
Hmm.
that's the ending, right? So does this hat get used as an idol? Does it get burned? How does it end? And I think that will tell whether it's the number one. It could be the number one hat of all time.
now it's interesting. You bring up a very good point in that technically destruction of idols and advantages is not allowed. If someone, right, if Noel's pissed off enough at Cody to be like, F him, I'm going to burn his hat. And in production, do they have to be like, oh, no, it's technically speaking, you're not allowed to. Like, how do we reveal this information without outright saying it's an idol?
Maybe the beads are inflammable. They covered it with the like fire retardant, kind of stuff. They're just like, just in case, just in case.
Yeah, it's interesting because the other two, assumingly, now again, the creativity from Coco and Baka have yet to be seen, are going to be bracelets. That's the other thing as well. Is like even before
Hmm.
all this hat malarkey happened, the idols are going to be bracelets. Like, is that conspicuous enough where people who aren't in on the idol thing would flag that of like, oh, Cody has one, this person has one,
Mm.
this person has one? Or do you think it's subtle enough that people won't necessarily note it? That from what we saw with Noel, people are putting stuff around their wrists all the time.
Hmm. I think it's going to be subtle enough, unless everybody shows up with a hat like this. I think we'll be okay.
Well, the issue in future becomes like, because now you know that the beware advantages can be anything.
Hmm.
Any conspicuous behavior are they getting an idol out of this? Like
Hmm.
Yeah, I
it,
mean, that's the thing. And then what do you do with people like Gabler, who's just like when he says Survivor Bacon, like, are the worms idols? Is that the thing? Collect enough worms and you get an idol.
I think, yeah, you just have to have like very bizarre behavior from the get go, and then no one will know. That was the whole thing with Marianne, because when Marianne
Yeah.
said her phrase the first time, I didn't even clock it. I was like, Marianne's so funny. And I was like, oh, wait, she said it. Oh my God, she said the phrase. All right, let's talk about the next image. Now, this is just general Cody's vibe, which mainly I want to talk about the hair, the mullet, the lightning bolts carved into the side, which you can kind of see here, like right above his
mm,
ear. But also, again, just Cody's whole island vibe, the necklace,
Oh,
the shirt,
interesting.
just everything about it. Do we buff or snuff this? Mike, what do you think? We talked a lot in the preseason about this mullet. Where are you
Yes.
coming down on it?
The mullet is working for me. I think it's growing in okay. I had some worry in the preseason, right? Because hopefully he's on the island. 26 days is a short amount of time, but like I know for myself, my hair grows in fast and it grows in thick. And I think if I had these uneven looks, it would look something awkward. I will say I think Cody she undersold the lightning bolts or oversold them in this case because like they are so subtle. I definitely thought it was
Mhm.
gonna be more kid's birthday party, like real zigzag in the side of the head. To your point, it almost just seems like a couple of scars above his ear that he probably got from jumping into an electric fence or something when he was back in Iowa. The whole look, I like am surprised and not surprised that the shirt is already as faded as it is.
Mm.
While he's acting like he is faded in the Penner variety. Like there are other people that have a much more pristine, not Justine, look about them, even 5 days in. But like Cody is also doing whatever the hell he wants to do. So
Mm.
he looks incredibly at home here. I'm gonna have to buff it, and I will say I love the pattern as well on the shirt because it is so asymmetrical. It is all over the place, and that is Cody in a nutshell.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with you with the lightning bolts. I wanted it to be more. I know we were gonna make fun of him for it, but like I just can't, that is dedication. Why lightning bolts? I don't know. But the mullet itself, yes, is holding up. Kevin, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm gonna snuff. I'm
Oh,
I'm I'm gonna snuff. It is fun. It is fun. It's a fun look, but I feel like I'm creating a lot of first impressions off of this early. I know he's super charming. By day 4 or 5, my eye is on Cody, and I don't know if it's a great strategy to look this handsome. I think it needs to be shut down. I'm gonna snuff. I also think that it seems like a really good dude, but if he's walking into my apartment building and we're sitting down for our elevator pitch, it's going to be a tough first impression to get past. I mean, that's a big
hmm.
investment for us and our
Mhm.
real estate empire.
Mhm.
It's I don't know if I'm getting there with the look. It's a lot. It's amazing, but it's probably someone who I'd rather go to a party with versus
Mhm.
make a major business transaction with.
He looks somewhat less threatening somehow with the hat, even though the hat is an idol.
Oh no, the hat is a fantastic way to bring down your threat level, right? Of like, you can't. Why would you vote for
Goofy.
me?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a goofy
Yeah.
hat. I always am intrigued by the idea to come onto the show with a beard. Like I was looking at this facial hair, and I'm like, did he come in clean shaven? But no, if you check his cast profile picture, he came in with the beard. It's tougher to track, like Ben Driebergen, for example. We
Mm.
always love when it comes
Mhm.
to guys seeing like how big the beard gets after however many days on the island. With Cody, it's a little bit like him already starting on day 10 or whatever. But again, it
Yeah.
works from this like rugged island boy perspective.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the perception though is a good point. I think I'm gonna snuff it as well. But he gets the buff for the hat, so it evens out in the
It
end.
balances. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hat gets the buff. Everything else, hat down about Cody gets the
Well,
snub.
he needs the rest of the look for the hat though, right? So
Mm.
it's the totality of everything with the hat. Yes. Remove the hat, not working as well for me. Okay, let's talk about Dwight because
Hmm.
I noticed his shirt. What I did not notice are the racing car pants. I don't really know
Oh.
yeah, exactly. I don't really know what these are, but they do remind me of someone who's riding, I don't know, like a motorcycle or something like that. Are they supposed to be chaps in their pattern? All I think is they are far too stylish for me. Dwight knows what's going on, and I am behind the times. That's
it
how I
look.
feel looking at Dwight's outfit.
It looks like he's supposed to be in Tron. Like he got sucked into a
Hmm.
Mm.
computer game that got dropped into a field of water, and now he's been brought to life.
Yeah, the pants do definitely give me that vibe. At first, I really liked the shirt, and you can't really see it here, but the back is just black. Like the red
Oh,
sort of
interesting.
faded doesn't go all the way around, but I like that it kind of lines up with
Oh,
the sleeves. Plus, it, obviously matches the tribe colors.
this
Interesting.
is this is just such a slam dunk buff for me. It's
Oh.
just this is the kind of stuff that I'll try to buy, and Jillian will be like no, because I have no fashion sense. But I this is like he's walking up on that sand. He's looking great. Like, this is the new era. This is a full fit. The buff is matching. The shoes go with it as well. It's top to bottom, just fire. I mean, I would be worried about his threat level as well. Look at those kicks.
Yeah, look at those kicks. Yeah, he's got
And
the
red
matching.
socks.
Are they?
too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Are
those
those
are
red socks?
I think
I didn't
so.
know. I didn't know if those were red socks or if that was part of either the shoe or the pant.
I think they're socks.
I think they're
Wow.
socks too. He's
keeps
really
giving.
just coordinated. I know.
I don't
This is
know.
fashion.
I might.
And you know
have to-
what?
I'm gonna snuff. I'm gonna snuff because the pants to me give me murdered zebra, and I don't like that.
What?
What's black and white and
What?
red all
Red
over?
all over?
Dwight's pants.
A murdered zebra. Maybe remove that joke from your repertoire. But yeah, I see. The thing is like, as someone who also doesn't know anything about fashion, like, this could be absolutely 100% amazing or doesn't match at all. But I'm gonna go with amazing, especially just because I like the motorcycle pants look. Like, I would wear these.
Yeah. I love it because it's also so antithetical to Dwight, right? Like, Mr. I go interview maybe some maybe it's all good. Maybe another reason why we don't need the packages from at home is like when it got revealed some of the people that Dwight interviewed, some people were like, oh boy, Jesse, maybe you need to do a background check on your new island husband.
Oh my god, I was living for that though. Like, him as a kid just walking up to people. Like, what? I'm sorry. I need to know more about the logistics of how this happened.
There were a lot. He say he's like, he just put in the interview request. Like, cool.
Yeah. And they just let him.
I don't know. It might have also been a different time, right? Like, I know Jesse is young, but if he's interviewing like Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, like, they were having their heyday in the aughts where there was, I think, less of a barrier to entry of like, hey, here's a cute kid in a suit. Yeah, sure, he'll interview you.
Yeah, like, it's a good PR move. Like, let the little kid do it. But he went to the Democrat. I wrote it down. He went to the Democratic National Convention in 2012 or a 2008 presidential debate. Those are the two, at least, events that I saw.
Wow.
I don't know where he
Good
found
research.
Madeleine Albright, but
Yeah, I mean, what's notable is he has yet to land the big BO. He's yet to land Obama, but I think maybe better late than never. Maybe he could try to do it, or at least land the follow. I know Jamal from season 39 has the Obama follow. Hopefully Dwight will get one as well.
well, with these pants, he can do anything.
Well, so
does he have to wear the pants?
yes.
Yes.
I really love this out. I really love how the gradient just leads into the pants. It really leads you there. Liana, as an academic,
Yes.
Dwight's a grad student. He's walking into the library dressed like this. What is your reaction?
Why do you look so put together? Where are the stains? Because you're so tired and you've been working so hard. How have you managed to dress yourself so well? You don't belong here.
It's a very real answer.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, good on him. He looks fantastic. Whereas most of the time I'm covered in bleach stains and, have holes in my shirts. But it's, I'm proud of him.
You're
He's a
just
good
more like Cody
representation.
than a Dwight. It's like Goofus and Gallant.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about our next eliminated contestant with Justine's, because I just really love this. So I just want to buff it. And that's the end of all I have to say. It's so cute. I love her little cover up. It's just absolutely adorable. I don't know if they're separate, like the pants and the shirt is separate, or if it's like one romper, but I think she looks stunning and I want to know where she got this. So if she could reach out to me, because that's what happened with the underwear that Evie wore on their season. Evie reached out to me afterwards being like, here's where I bought it. And I bought a pair. So Justine, please reach out. I need to buy this. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say, not to take too much from like the Issa look of it all, I feel like a lot of these, and maybe I'll be spoiling for when we scroll down further, a lot of these cast photos were a lot of serves. I think between Justine and Cassidy in particular. And yeah, Justine's outfit, I definitely flagged. Now look, listen, again, to pull back the elastic band a bit on Survivor, oftentimes the outfits they're wearing in their pictures are not the ones they're going to be wearing on the island. Usually those are wardrobe choices either dictated by production or something they break that production gives the thumbs up on. In this case, like, she was able to wear whatever she wanted, and it looked fantastic. I think she's able to really pull it off. I love the sort of like cinch in the middle of the top, because I believe these are 2 pieces, right? Unless it's just like one big piece with a hole over the belly.
You never know. You can have like the connecting sides and stuff, but yes, it like the silhouette is so perfect. I love the oversized sleeves. This is so serving. Definitely a buff.
I'm projecting here, but I just really feel like it would be a good, like, there's a lot of utility in this outfit. Usually like you'll see like a t-shirt and pants or something on an island outfit. This has got like the top covered, bottom open. Like I feel like you can live on a beach for a while in this. Like this was very carefully picked purely for the utility of it.
Plus, you can untie that, create like a little basket to collect, food or some firewood in there, right? So I think it's practical as well. Not only is it a serve, but it also is functional. Again, total buff.
I might ask for this as she got voted out.
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying to remember though. I don't think she wore this on the island though.
No, unfortunately, I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she had it in her bag, but I didn't see her wearing this, unfortunately.
Maybe it was the bag.
It was the bag. Okay. So obviously that's a buff. We all agree because it's such a serve. Amazing. Let's talk about NECAs because this was one that took me by surprise. I went to go get Dwight's outfit and saw NECA wearing this. So it is a blazer with a scarf, like a patterned scarf, an orange shirt, and like plaid dress pants, I think. I feel so bad for NECA here. She looks very happy about it in the picture, but I just can't imagine wearing this business casual outfit to go play Survivor.
Like, what is she dressed for? She's dressed for a freaking like Easter Sunday or 11 o'clock meeting in person. And also she's a pharmacist. Like, this says nothing about her occupation.
This is not what pharmacists wear.
Yeah, when you have a business meeting at 11 but have to play Survivor at 12. Like, no, what?
Yeah, imagine a pharmacist wearing a neckerchief that's so low, it's like dangling into your pills that they're trying to pack them up.
I also just don't, maybe she picked this. The clashing patterns, do they work? I don't know. Between the scarf and the plaid pants. It was really the plaid pants for me that stood out because they look like they're made out of a material that is uncomfortable. I have no proof and no evidence of this, but just the way that they look they look itchy maybe. I don't know.
This is also the kind of outfit that I would try to buy and Jill, I'd like come on with it. Jill, be like, why are you doing this? Like, this is if there was a traditional marooning, this is the exact opposite of what you would want to be wearing. Like, I would send this to wardrobe and be like, give me the opposite of whatever this is.
No, it's honestly, with no offense to NECA, because I don't know if she chose this outfit, but it's very much giving me like 5-year-old got into mommy's work clothes and is like, oh, this is what she wears. I'm off to work. Just like all sorts of odds and ends, a hastily tied knot at the bottom. None of it makes any sense.
I do think. Go for it, Liana.
Oh, I was going to say the neutrals don't even match because she's got the brown jacket with like the black and gray pants.
What's a neutral?
What is a true neutral?
Black, white, gray? Is that what that is?
Well, black, white, gray. Some people consider navy, brown, tan can be considered a neutral.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's OTTN.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the edgic on this clothing?
Perception-wise, though, I actually think this is a really good first impression outfit. Obviously, it's not actually the first time they're seeing each other, but I do think it's the perfect element of like, you have some presence, you're showing up. It's not too much, like it's not too formal, but it's on the upper end of, okay, this person's got a story. They're probably like somewhat successful. I do like it for those reasons.
She looks reliable, right? Like,
now,
we can trust you.
What I'm intrigued by is we see a little skosh of like the Cody shirt right next to her. And I guess I was misremembering. I thought the picture you sent was like of his shirt through 5 days of Survivor. But he woke up like this. His shirt was kind of like already in tatters and in like a really dirty color by the time he started the game.
Yeah, it was designed that way, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, it's like pre-ripped jeans.
Exactly.
She's so happy. She's so happy as we move on. I love it. She's so happy.
Yeah. All right. Well, so okay, buff or snuff. Final decision. Kevin, you buffing or snuffing this?
Slight snuff, just barely a snuff.
Go snuff. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a snuff as well. Poor NECA. I just feel like it's dress for the job you want, and if this is the case, I'm not entirely sure what the Indeed.com listing said.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, speaking of dressing for the job you want, let's talk about the next couple looks. So I pulled
Oh
all
my
of
god,
them.
I didn't realize there were so many.
Same. So when I thought of Mariah, I was like, oh yeah, the rainbow dress from her promo photos. But no, we have overalls, we've got the shorts, we've got the knee-high socks, of course, the hair that really completes the look. So I guess we're just talking all rainbow here. You know, I love that she's got a theme and she's sticking with it. I don't know
Yeah.
where she managed to find all of these, but I love them. The overalls, you know, practical, right? Overalls are like outdoorsy clothes. Aren't they? Like farmers wear
Yeah.
overalls?
Yeah, I
Right?
would say so. I think the tough thing
Sure.
is if they're
Sure.
denim overalls, that can be tough. I don't know. Burlap might also be tough considering like how much it rains out there and just like how absorbent they are. To your question about where does all this come from? You know, she has sort of showcased that she has her own sort of brand, right? Rainbow, REIGN bow. It could be possible like she designed these outfits. Like these are Mariah Young
Hmm.
originals.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think we're probably buffing or snuffing the vibe, like the overall rainbow aesthetic of it
Mm.
all. You know. So for me, I think it's bold, it's bright, it makes a statement. Now, that being said, for Survivor, I don't know if this is being results oriented, but she was the first one voted off. So I don't know. I don't know how practical this is in terms of painting a literal striped target on your back.
It's amazing. I'm for it. Even if this got her voted out because she shone too bright. I love it. Keep doing it, Mariah. Like this is just it's very hard to just nail a brand and a style, and she does it. Even like her videos at home, it looks like she built like at least one rainbow room. It is
Yeah.
so cool. I'm so for it. I will buff across the way. This is just I mean it's instant. You see her and you know it's her and it's her brand. And if I saw her and she was wearing neutrals, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. She's
Which-
far from neutral in anything that she does. I completely co-sign what Kevin said because that's the thing is when we think rainbow on Survivor now, like I guess Rupert does count because he wore rainbow tie-dye, but like I don't really think about it like that. She's now the person, despite lasting only one episode, that I equate with an entire freaking color spectrum. And that is fantastic. So yeah, it's a little bit of an assault onto the eyes, but it's a good assault. So I'm incredibly happy with it. I'm gonna give a big old buff to everything going on with Mariah.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm going to have to buff this as well. When I was a child, I had rainbow tie-dye bedspread. My room was painted bright blue with the trim being rainbow as it transitioned through different colors. So I think I would be untrue to myself if I did not buff this, as well as the knee-high socks. I am a knee-high socks girl through and through. I can never speak highly enough about knee-high socks. So especially because of that, I'm going to buff this. So I think she just, yeah, completes the brand here, going all
Yeah.
out and commits to it, which I also like.
Got to protect the shins in case of an impromptu soccer game.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, that is correct. You never know when someone's cleats may come in contact with your shins.
I don't disagree. I get mocked by my wife because we got like the Bombas socks, and I only insist on getting like the office NECA length socks rather than like the shorter ones. I'm not a fan of ankle socks in general. So even in like brisk summer and like shorts, I'm still wearing Mariah length socks, and I feel okay about it.
Good. I truly hate those little fake socks that go around the
Yes,
tip of the
yes.
toes and the ankle. Yeah, maybe they look cool, but they're incredibly uncomfortable. And if your shoes aren't on, they look weird.
And they slip off too. You know, there's a potential
Yeah.
for that. Just, yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Our very last look, and it's two looks really because
Oh no.
it's the Gabler hats of it all. Now, this is was specifically requested by Mike, the skull cap hat, and I pulled the other one as well because I felt like we just couldn't talk about one without the other. So, Mike, I know you've got a lot of thoughts. Please share them.
Yes, Gabler is giving me 21 Jump Street in this first picture, and it's so good because it's not even the skull cap; it's a skull cap paired with, and you see it here, right? This like odd desert plant shirt that he has going on to make it seem like I'm a heavy metal guy. Like it is so awkward. And so, in my opinion, like antithetical to, again, a guy that you typically see in hospitals, like saving people's lives. If you saw this guy, you might turn and walk the other direction if he approached you in the ICU. I absolutely adore it, but it also is Gabler in that he is much more than his job title for many reasons. And I think that's showcased here by the fact that probably on the reg, honestly. I know we talked about like, okay, how is production dressing NECA? Honestly, I would not be surprised if Gabler's like, I got this wardrobe. What do you think about it? Like, this is something he probably wears on a Saturday afternoon, and I am all for it.
This man played football. He ran track. He was a boxer.
He was a boxer.
He hiked mountains with a heavy pack.
Heavy packs.
He flew across the Atlantic Ocean. He traveled to the moon. He left the universe.
Yeah.
But he is not a fashion icon. This probably took effort. He was probably digging up these clothes if he brought them himself. This is not it. This is just it's not it. And I relate to him. I'm on the same page. I would probably pop this thing on as well, but it's just an easy snuff.
I do like the "how do you do, fellow kids" sort of vibe.
Yeah,
the first one.
Zach Wurtenberger tweeted a fantastic thing about how he looks like both Walter White and Jesse Pinkman in one person.
That's great. I mean, the second one is incredibly practical, which means they didn't let him have this hat, I'm sure, which is why he got the skull cap instead, if he was insistent on having a hat out there. But I think, like, yeah, one gives me the "hello, fellow kids," and then the next one gives me the fisherman.
No, it gives me a defrosted 1400 prospector, right? Of like, here's a man that we thawed out of ice. Like, where's the gold? We're still pining for gold.
Well, gonna go gold mining, yes, sir.
I love though that he's a hat guy because remember he is bald as well, and I love it. He does escape the head a lot. People wear your hats this coming winter, and so I love that Gabler has a choice in hats. That he's also invested though. Look, it does get cold in Fiji, but he is wearing like a woolen ski cap too in that first look. I love it as well. It is so incredibly impractical. We talked about this, Liana, back at Edge of Extinction with Victoria's beanie. Like
exactly.
These absorbent winter hats do not work here whatsoever.
Maybe the reason why Gabler is never dry is because he's wearing this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're gonna keep the moisture on your body, of course you're gonna get those like gross feet issues that you're having, Gabler. I do not want to see his head.
That was such
a made out of the same material.
I am the one who soaks. Sorry.
That was a great sequence as well, right? The girls being like, what's going on with the guys? The guys like, don't your feet look gnarly? Hey, I look like Patrick Mahomes. Chuck this coconut into the jungle.
I love when those little like pop culture things make it into the show because it kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also reminds you of like, oh yeah, these are just like people that live their normal life and now they're out here on the island, right? It's not
now I'm just imagining
separate.
Patrick Mahomes, like a big Chiefs game gets rained out and he's like, Mom, can you come pick me up from the stadium?
Pick me up from the convenience store outside the stadium. All right. Well, that is our last look. I think, Mike, are you going to buff or snuff this?
I'm buffing the hell out of this. The audacity of this guy, to quote Nelson from the challenge, of what he is able to wear. It's so Gabler. Like, this is the man in a nutshell. And so I really cannot. I've been buffing Gabler as a hot mess person in the past 3.5 hours we've seen of Survivor. It'd be wrong of me to buff his fashion choices therein.
Oh my God. I'm excited for the TV show. That's so Gabler.
I saw the future. All right, here's what we got to fry up these worms.
Oh gosh. I don't know what this man is going to do on the next episode because we've already gone through got a wrist to vote, got an idol, said he was going to play the shot in the dark, didn't play the shot in the dark, is injured, it's potentially almost got medevaced, almost stabbed himself with a Hawaiian sling. What could this man possibly do in the next episode? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out.
I tell you
anything.
Good.
Go for it, Mike.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Anything, the possibilities are endless. To Kevin's point, I think he's gonna find the beware advantage, and then he's
I
gonna
hope
just,
so.
and then he's just gonna absolutely come out and be like, "All right, guys, you won't believe what happens with this one. I gotta get all your beads right now. Like fork it on over. I'll throw them in with the worms. It'll make it nice ratatouille for Baka."
I hope. He's already got the hat, so that's one step forward.
Imagine his hat with like the little beads strung around.
I don't know how he would do it. There's probably no way to like weave it in unless you can get the strands. So maybe it's just like instead of a bracelet, it's like a headband kind of thing that he could do over
And-
the hat.
Well, the tough thing is Gabler has no hair to like nest it in, right? Like he can't bobby pin anything to his scalp. So I don't know what'll have to. Here's actually what happens. He gets the beads. He makes them into a bracelet. He doesn't lose the Hawaiian sling, but he loses the beads in the ocean.
Oh my god, that would be so funny. What happens? What happens if you lose an idol? Like I've thought about that. If you bury it and then you can't go back and find it, like you can't find it again because something happened. Like what if there was a storm and it washed away? Do you just lose the idol forever, or does production give you a new one?
I've seen it before, and again in a season of Survivor South Africa, where someone buries their idol. It almost happened with Mike last season. Remember, like I think if you bury the idol and you forget where it is, they don't give you a new one. I think you have to find it, or they're not gonna listen. This is the dangerous era of Survivor. Sorry for you if you lost
Sorry
your
for
idol.
you. Yes.
The monster took it.
It's so fun.
Well, Kevin, it was incredibly fun to have you on here. Last thing I want to do is we do this typically on the B&B. We foist the spotlight onto the guest here to give any sort of charity or cause that they want to highlight. Give some eyes on outside of this very silly game and silly podcast that we're talking about. Anything particular? Any charities or causes that you want to highlight?
Yeah, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's October, something that's personal to me. While I was on Big Brother, my sister was actually fighting it, and thankfully she's doing okay. And I started working with this organization called Rethink Breast Cancer, rethinkbreastcancer.com. I was looking for a way to sort of make a difference in folks who are living with it or survivors or family. They're a really good resource, both for education, for support. Yeah, they're a great org.
Amazing. Well, I'm so happy about your sister, and yeah, that's awesome for you. You know, talk about this platform that you're on as a result of becoming this reality TV star to highlight this, and then also using this platform to come onto this podcast. It's just so you know, not exactly a one-for-one comparison, but we are so freaking happy to have you on. I know that obviously you were an RHAP fan first and foremost before you were a Big Brother Canada 10 winner, but I'm happy to have had you on regardless, to especially talk about Survivor, something that, again, not a lot of people might have known that you've had opinions on starting from back when you were 7 years old.
I got into Survivor. Sorry, I got into Big Brother because of one of those RHAP podcasts that was like, why you should watch Big Brother.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah, it really worked. It really worked. Yeah, but Mike, Liana, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and this community has been incredibly kind and welcoming and so nice. Which you can see that from the outside, but coming in, it's been like such a pleasure to be welcomed.
Well, I'm not sure if you're having any other guest appearances coming up anytime soon, but either way, if people want to catch up on just your general musings about reality TV or life, how can people follow you on social media?
I am on Twitter at Kevin Ted Jacobs, and I am on Instagram, which is far less. I'm just not a sexy guy. It's just not my platform, but I'm on there under Kevin Ted Jacobs as well. Oh, there are people out there. There are certain people with a specific taste, but it's not my Mariah's brand is rainbows. Mine is not. Sexy is not in the like adjectives that are on there. To some people, sure, but that's not really it. Twitter's more interested.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So yes, you can check out Kevin's I would say written sexiness perhaps on his Twitter profile.
I'm a sexy intellectual.
There we go.
There we go. I love that. Well, we just got to get you those Dwight pants, and then sexy idol.
Just, you wear it in every single Instagram picture. These these black and white and red all over pants.
Do you own other pants?
And there are rumors of a near Survivor Stock Watch appearance with Taryn.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is coming back now that Terrence pulled his head out of the Big Brother house when it comes to the US. Yeah, another stable in the Survivor Weekly podcast will be coming back soon, perhaps with a Kevin Jacobs appearance. We shall see. Liana, what do you have going on?
Well, first, you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. Puya and I are podcasting about The Masked Singer, which is a mess, but it exists. And Mike and I also recorded, speaking of Big Brother, the finale B&B with Maggie Morgan. And that was really enjoyable. I think it should be out soon if it's not out already.
It's out now, yeah.
Right.
We did a lot of discussion about the season as a whole, especially its very epic ending. We played MASH. Liana came up with a really fantastic quiz about Victor and Nicole's recent appearance on Rob Has a Podcast.
Yes, it was very well done and not shady at all.
And you can follow me at a Mike Bloom type. As I mentioned before, my interview with Justine is up. Really interesting. She gives obviously a lot of perspectives, not only on what her side of everything was, but also specifically her watching back the edit. Certainly had some thoughts about the way she was portrayed. Really interested. Again, she really popped for me in the preseason, so I was happy to talk with her no matter what the circumstance. You could also check out all the other interviews I have up there, including the Amazing Race this past week. Got to talk with freaking Rex Ryan and Tim Mann about their time, which was absolutely wild. And I did interviews, speaking of Big Brother, right after the finale. If you haven't checked that out yet, get those thoughts immediately after Taylor's crowning. Also, probably one of the rare Monty interviews that will ever exist, apparently, which I may be partially to blame. I'm not entirely sure. But feel free to check all that out at a Mike Bloom type at parade.com. And then over on the scripted side of things, Kevin mentions The Mirror Needs Not. We are recording this on the eve of another episode of House of the Dragon. Kevin, have you been watching House of the Dragon?
New Alicent is my spirit animal. She is so evil. I mean, listen, Laris. Oh, what is this? Laris burned people. Spoilers. Laris burned people, and she's like, oh no, in a couple episodes, Alicent is gonna be burning everyone. I started on Team Rhaenyra, and now I am Alicent all the way. That energy after the cast switch, I love her.
Oh, incredible. All right. Well, we shall see what new Allison is going to bring tonight. The new hotness, perhaps. And I'm going to be talking about it with Grace Leader as we recap another mad episode of House of the Dragon. Talking Lord of the Rings as well. Talking Heroes with Josh Regler. Lots of stuff happening at post-show recaps as well. So we're going to be back next week. Of course, Liana and myself. And it's all about Beads, baby. Jordan Kalish is going to be back. I'm a little nervous because Jordan did do phrase games with us last time. Liana, do we have any idea of what he may bring for us this time?
I don't know how we would manage to swap beads through the computer screen, but Jordan will do the math. He'll figure it out.
Oh boy. Well, if that's the case, then we're all in hot water. You can send us games as well if you have ideas as to how to transfer beads between windows here on the internet. RHAPBNB@gmail.com or hashtag RHAPBNB. We are receptive to any and all games. And thank you all so much for listening, even through these couple of episodes. Again, they have been long Survivor episodes, but really fun podcasts. Really having a ball with this season so far. And I'm hopeful that will continue next week with a guy who knows his way around many balls, the sports teacher, gym teacher himself, Jordan Kalish. Just had to get that in with the 400-pound snake of it all. So thank you all again so much for listening. Kevin, thank you again for your guest appearance. This was really a fantastic amount of fun. Leon and I will be back next week with Jordan Kalish recapping episode 3 of Survivor 43. Until then, we'll check you out at your next stay.